Hey guys, coming at you with another episode of Tampa Bay Real Producers. This is the podcast, of course, for real producers by real producers and with none other than real producers here in Tampa Bay real estate. We get to hang out today with none other than Mr. Steven Burk. What's up, brother? How you doing?
Hi, how are you? Thank you so much for having me on. I greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, no, this is fun. We're going to dive into your story a little bit. We've gotten to know each other now, I think, since... I guess it was when you got nominated for the Rising Star Award at the Agent Choice Awards that we did, not this past year, but 2 years ago in 2022. And of course, not only did you get nominated, but you ended up winning, brought home the hardware that night. And then I think you had to pass that legacy down to Adam Kutzmeyer, I think this year, right?
Yes, Adam's my friend, and I'm very happy to have passed the torch to him. He's very well deserving of that award. So, and I'm very excited to have won it, the first real Rising Star Award.
Yeah, that was in 2022. Adam won it this past year, 2023. So we'll see where the flame goes next year, I guess. But we also featured Steven in one of the issues of Tampa Bay Real Producers as a rising star in this market. That was probably about a year ago now, I guess, maybe a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
Somewhere in that ballpark. So that's how we met. And excited to have you on the podcast. So we love to get started just with a little bit of background. Let's get the audience to get to know you a little bit more if they don't know you yet. Where'd you grow up? How'd you get to Tampa? How'd you end up getting started in real estate? We'll start there.
Well, first off, I think I'm a rarity right now, this day and age. I'm a Tampa native. I was born and raised here in Tampa. I grew up in Carrollwood, lived in Lutz for, some time. And then I've been a resident of downtown since like 2010. I have moved 23 times locally.
What?
I know.
No wonder why you're a realtor.
So I started my career in 2008, and then my real estate career in 2008 just kind of has led me to bumping around all over Tampa Bay. So I lived everywhere from Sarasota to Wesley Chapel to St. Pete.
So, I mean, that obviously speaks to what drove you, I guess, to become an agent. I'm assuming you might have had some bad experiences in some of those moving situations?
No. So I started my career in 2008 just selling. My neighbor next door, she was a foreclosure agent, and she had over 300 listings back in 2008. And I was just working for her, taking photos for, MLS and BPOs and all that stuff, was selling, helping her, fax over all of the contracts that the banks kept on losing. And then in 2008, one of the investors that was was purchasing the properties that we were selling, he got to know me, and I knew all the properties like the back of my hand. Yeah. So he hired me on to kind of do a property management kind of thing for a couple of years. And then he sold that off, and then he got into building and developing multifamily buildings. So I sold several apartment communities in Tampa, which was really great. I had a little background in property management and that acquisition of multifamily sales. I ended my career in that realm. I sold Element in downtown Tampa.
Nice.
And that was the last little bit. And then I got into residential real estate about 7 years ago. So
do you miss any of that commercial world?
Oh no, man. The thing about commercial, and that's part of the reason what made me get into residential, was because commercial was like you're able to still sell real estate, but it's very like, this is your box.
Yeah.
And people that know me know I'm a very out of the box kind of person. Like, I just beat to my own drum. I do my own thing. But it gave me a really good foundation of how to deal with people, how to talk to people, how to really sell a property, and how to kind of like, reflect and deal with different people in the industry. And I really enjoyed that time. And that's what really has laid the foundation for me to build the career that I have today. So I'm very grateful for that time.
Yeah, very cool. I mean, I think it's funny. A lot of people have almost the opposite path, I've noticed, where they start in the residential world and then maybe get into commercial at some point. And it was like the exact opposite, I guess, for you. And we're exposed to these big time projects and deals on the investment side before finding that niche on the residential side. So what is it about the residential side that you love the most?
First off, I love people. I'm a very people-driven person, and that reflects heavily in my business. Anyone knows me knows I just don't shut up all the time. I always have word vomit. I always have something to say. I always have an answer.
Good for a podcast.
Yes, exactly. That's why I'm here. So I'm so grateful.
That's right.
But yeah, I
get to talk as much as you want, dude.
I love people. And, I know that is like my driving force of I love it. I don't think I'll ever not be a buyer's agent. I love listings, but like I just love kind of teaching people the right way of doing things. And I explain everything to my clients every step of the way. And that's what really, and then getting a referral or building my sphere or just getting things grown organically is probably like the best compliment that I could have in my career. And that's how I just run my business today, is just through my sphere. And I just do what I love. That's really it.
The fact that you grew up in this market, you think that's played a big role in your ability to have that sphere and be able to kind of grow from that? Or do you feel like there's some specific things you've done just business-wise that has helped you attract that sphere and develop it?
I think it's divine order. I originally was going to school to be a physician's assistant. Okay. So I wanted to get in the medical realm. So I started off going to community college.
You get to talk that much though.
No, I was like, now I look back at it and I'm like, I'm happy. Like, I don't think I ever would have survived COVID. So that whole situation, and I don't really talk to people. I'd probably like have the worst line of patients out the door. But I think it was divine order. I had the opportunity. I was 16 in high school, and my neighbor across the street, I graduated high school early at 16. So I was just, my mom didn't let me graduate.
You're always an overachiever, huh?
Yeah. I was a good kid when I was younger. I don't know what happened to me. I was corrupted now, but I was able to graduate at 16. And when I turned 18, from those that 2 years, I really learned a lot about real estate, and real estate kind of like chose me. Like I gravitated towards it. I had like internships at other places. Like I worked for Katie Summers for the radio station actually for a year as an intern, thinking maybe that's the realm I want to get into. I worked doing all different things. My mom had restaurants here in Tampa, so I've served tables. I've done all that stuff, but kind of like real estate was my path. It was what really attracted me. I love what I do, and I think I had to gain people's trust. My sphere, when I first started, I was young, and
how old were you when you got licensed?
When I got licensed, I was like 24, 25.
Yep.
But I was in real estate at 20 years old, in the commercial space, right. And I'm trying to sell $100 million plus properties, right. And I definitely had some obstacles to overcome. And thankfully, the person that hired me, he was an amazing mentor. Him and his wife they just trusted me and they believed in me, and they taught me really good foundation of skill sets that I now have that I built upon. And so it was a combination. It was, I was born and raised here. I do have a good knowledge, a good, foundation of people, but I also had to work really, really hard in order to prove myself for them to want to give me their listings or help them go buy a house.
Right.
So, it was a combination of things, hard work and also being in the right place at the right time.
I would imagine that that's a challenge for a lot of kind of younger agents that are trying to up and come in the market. It's just this idea. I mean, we all know that there's a lot of options out there in the real estate world, right? For anyone who wants to sell their home, any buyer looking for a home. Yeah. And there's a natural inclination, I would think, for a lot of buyers and sellers to want to work with an experienced agent, right? Yep. Somebody who has a track record that they can look at, whether that be via social media or just from a reputation standpoint. So if you're a younger agent, maybe just getting into the game for the first time, that's an obstacle, right? That you have to figure out, how do you position yourself that you're a viable option without that tons of years of experience. Yep. And it seems like you were able to do that, pretty well and make that work. Any thoughts on advice maybe for some younger agents that are trying to get going and get traction, and maybe they're struggling with that a little bit, on how to build that brand that actually can be viewed with credibility and with trust?
So I'm going to shout out to one of my favorite people, Mary Kelly of Smith & Associates. She kind of gave me some nuggets when I first got started as a residential agent. And she was like, you have to be the knowledge broker. she is so successful. If you've ever seen Mary Kelly in her element, she can sell anything to anyone. Like, God bless that woman. I love her. And so she was like, you have to be the knowledge broker. You have to drive around the neighborhoods. You have to know the properties. And so I didn't really know a lot of different neighborhoods that I was working, that my clients wanted. But if I knew that they wanted a specific neighborhood, I would go and drive it myself. I would pull up, on public records and just kind of see like who lives there, search them on Facebook, like, try to figure out who lives in these properties, how long they've lived in the properties, what they bought them for, and trying to figure out, a little bit more about, the neighborhood of what amenities it has. And that's why I started doing video tours of communities, because over the past 2 years, people were moving from out of state and they didn't have time to come down. They were just placing offers blindly on properties. And so I built a website out that just does neighborhood tours. And I explain the different schools, the different, kinds of lifestyles, that kind of thing. And it really came from showing that you are the knowledge broker. So know your stats, read statistics, and share that information on your social media to to the people that are your sphere. And then you start gaining their trust, because you may be new, but it's showing that you're doing your research and your homework and you know what you're talking about. So provide good knowledge to people and they will, they'll reciprocate.
That's a great advice. And I love the website idea. I think obviously we're living in an age of social media and people want to be able to see videos of everything. And so having that ability to connect with people on that personal level and position yourself as a true expert, no matter what your age is. I think that's great advice. What year was it that you got licensed again?
Oh gosh, it was probably... Oh, I can't do math with the year. I know, like I just turned 31 and I think I was like 20.
So it was like 6 years ago?
Yeah, it was like 6-ish years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in your 6 years, Steven, have you noticed that has the business just kind of like gradually grown for you over the course of 6 years? Or did you have a spike year somewhere in that mix and it's been a little bit more volatile? Like, how would you describe it so far?
So my business has consistently grown, which I'm grateful for. It has grown over the past. Getting started was a little bit difficult, of course, for everyone. Your first year to 2 years is hard, kind of getting momentum. But once I gained momentum, it's consistently compounded. And
do you remember what you did in your first year?
My first year, I did so. My advice to someone new is get a business coach immediately. I invested in a business coach. I didn't have much money at that time. I put it on a credit card and said a prayer that I was going to be paid back. And that what I did was my business coach told me to start doing open houses. You not only get to know the area in the market that's kind of there, but how to really do a true mega open house. And I would go door knocking. I would do all the flags. I used to put up like 50 signs, like that was it. So I did that. And then in combination, worked on my sphere, doing my calls, circle prospecting, smile and dial, that kind of thing, getting to know that. So
you were hustling the first year.
Hustled, yeah. That was kind of it.
Was it like one open house a month, or how many would you do?
No, I was doing at least one a week.
Okay.
And I was just trying to do stuff that was sweat equity rather than check equity.
Sure.
Probably was I started getting a little bit more momentum with, getting some money coming in. The worst thing that I see in people with starting a business is they start making a little bit of money and they go and spend it on stuff. I reinvested my money back into my business. I lived very low. And all the money I made, I just reinvested. So I was then starting to do mailers. I partnered with my title company, was doing mailers with them. I partnered with my mortgage broker. We were doing online leads. So was
this in a targeted area? Targeted niche community?
Yeah. That's when people liked Zillow. Was probably my second or third year. And then of course Zillow took a turn, but I then from that, my sphere started catching on. They were like, okay, we now trust him. He's sold a couple of houses. He's got some good reviews. We're now moving forward with it. And that now my business is solely just referral based.
So I don't do any of those things anymore.
I don't do any outside marketing. The only thing I do is just love on my past clients in my sphere.
It's awesome.
And
how long do you think it took you to get there?
It's been about a year and a half, so that I've stopped all my other outside lead sources.
So it was a good 4 or 5 year commitment to build.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people aren't that patient. You know, they're not willing to do the work that you obviously did in the first year or two to be able to hustle as much as you did. And again, you're from this market, so I'm sure you had some contacts and access to dive into that, but you didn't lean on that. It sounds like at all. You really put a business plan together. I thought it was a great tip to get a business coach.
Yeah.
That's something that comes up a lot.
Yeah.
On these episodes, and it's something I think a lot of agents put off because they don't want to invest the money.
You have to invest.
It's a true investment in yourself and in your business. I totally agree. Mm-hmm. And obviously that paid off, because now you look about how things have scaled and grown for you, and you've built up this sphere that actually loves you and cares about you and helps you grow, and your business has taken off as a result of that. Mm-hmm. When you think about the business you ran then versus the one you have now, what comes to mind for you in terms of like, what do you really love and appreciate about your current business? And do you miss any of those steps that you had to put in to get there? Or was it all just a path to get you where you are today and you're very grateful because of it?
Definitely. I mean, it was divine order is the way I look at it, is that I had this preparation meeting the moment of opportunity. Mm-hmm. So you have to prepare yourself for the opportunity when it comes. Like I just started, over the past 2-3 years, working in a higher price point. When there was $250,000 homes on the market, that's what my people were buying the first 2-3 years, but it takes time, and you have to be patient. You can't just give up. And that's the thing that really frustrates me too sometimes, is that I'm part of all these different Facebook groups all over the country of real estate, as a lot of people are, and I see people like, I haven't sold a house in 3 months and I haven't done this and that. And it's like, people have that. We're in a very weird time right now in real estate. The past 2 years were weird. This is even a weirder time because we have a lot of stuff going on with the government, economy, interest rates. There's all this
uncertainty.
A lot of uncertainty. Mm-hmm. And you have to be that voice of reason for your client. And that's where it goes back to being the knowledge broker. Even as an experienced agent, you still need to reassure your client that this is a good time to still, purchase and be strategic about what they're purchasing. You have to kind of take everything by a case-by-case basis of what their goals are. So even if it's a past client, I still do a buyer consultation. Mm-hmm. I do, because people's goals change.
Sure.
And sometimes you have to ask those hard to ask questions in order to do your job right. And for me, it really makes my job easier, because when you have to have a difficult conversation down the road, it's a little bit easier to break that ice, knowing that you can reflect back on that buyer consultation. And the same thing too. This is the second client ever in my career I had to fire. I had to fire him. Mm-hmm. And it was because I had a buyer consultation with him. And we sat down, for quite a while. We had this long conversation about his goals. Okay. And it was a referral from a past client. So I trusted this referral, and they told me it was a little bit of a difficult client, but I spent so much time with this client. I mean, I probably showed him 50 properties. He canceled 3 different contracts. And
was this an investor or for his
No,
home?
It was for his primary home for him and his family. And, I kept on referring back to that buyer consultation. Well, this is what you told me in the beginning. This is why I'm bringing you here. Mm-hmm. And he just thought he knew what he needed to do.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I just had to have a sit down conversation, have a come to Jesus moment, and just say, this is not how I run my business. And unfortunately, I don't think we are a good fit for each other. These are, 2 or 3 agents that I have already, reached out to them and said, this is his situation. Would you want to take this client on?
Yeah.
And, I gave him the 3 options for him to interview them, and connect them. And ultimately, he's still looking for a home, and he didn't hire any agent. He's trying to do it on his own. Mm. So sometimes you need to be respectful of not only your time, but you need to be firm about how you run your business.
Totally.
And I think having that buyer consultation helps ease the blow in the future.
There's a lot of golden nuggets there that you just threw out there. I think the concept of making sure that you know what your standards are, right? And what you're willing to engage in and what you're not. There's a lot of agents out there, I think, that kind of just operate out of a mode of desperation, and they're willing to take on anybody at any time and hope to just get as much deals as they can. And I think if you think about any successful percentage of people, and there's a reason why the top 500 agents represent less than 3% of the total agents throughout Tampa Bay. A lot of it has to do with really being clear on your values, your non-negotiables, right?
Yes.
And it sounds like you were able to communicate that and get clarity on that, which I think is really, really powerful. And that's something that a coach can also help you with and help you develop if you're not exactly sure. When you think about the years now that you've been licensed, and maybe it's tying into what you just brought up, what do you think your biggest challenge was along the way? As you mentioned, the first year was a challenge, just getting started and getting that going. What are some of your thoughts about the challenges? Maybe it's one specific challenge. Maybe it's a series of things that you feel like was hard for you to maybe overcome at first, or you have overcome it, and because of that, now you feel differently about it. Anything come to mind when you think of what the biggest challenges have been?
I think my biggest challenge, and hopefully, it's kind of like an unspoken thing, but it's just kind of finding where I fit in the market. I think that as a new agent, we all we always have a role model that we look up to, whether it's the top producer in your office or whether it's, someone that you follow on TikTok, whatever it is. And I was always like, oh, I got to be that. I got to do that, and it's like, oh, I want to achieve that sales volume, or I want to do that. And, I have worked to do that. And, I try to figure out where I fit in the market. Like where do I fit in? Who is my tribe of people who I'm going to surround myself that are going to help me, and I'm going to help them, and who's going to kind of be that circle of like foundation for you. And I found that, it took me 3 or 4 years, and I have a great, amazing group of people. Some of my best friends are in the industry in all different realms, whether it's mortgage or title or, a broker. But finding that tribe and that circle that you can really count on, because sometimes, whether you have a partner or a spouse or whatever it is, you go home and it's like you're just venting to them, and all you do is you talk about real estate. Well, sometimes, you need to figure that out with someone else and kind of have that conversation of someone that can relate to you and understand.
A colleague in business.
Exactly. But also too, having a work-life balance is really important to me. In October right after I won the Real Producer Award, I had a heart attack. At 29. And I was working my butt off in the middle of COVID, and I was just selling houses, and I didn't sleep, at all. And I ended up having a heart attack in October. Wow. And now my viewpoint is I don't want to necessarily be the top producer. I don't want to be, all of that. I want to be happy. I want to provide really good service to my clients. I want to be a good human being, and I want to be able to have a work-life balance where I can work, but also take some time off and not feel guilty about it. So my business has shifted since then. I was a single agent, and I brought on a transaction coordinator, and keeping it in the fam. My cousin got his real estate license. And I'm now able
Is this the cousin?
Yes, my cousin's here actually.
Welcome.
And so he's kind of filled the role of a buyer's agent and kind of a keep all kind of person. And he is just fantastic. He has a background in private banking at Bank of America. And I kind of pulled him out of the corporate realm and kind of was like, you have a lot of potential doing
the dark
this.
side, huh?
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah.
So are you still recruiting? Are you looking to build the team now, or are you kind of working with the people that your tribe, so to speak?
I am strategically growing. If something comes my way that's the right fit, then I would say yes. But I'm not going out there, trying to prospect people. But for me, it's just I want to have a work-life balance. I don't want, and I spend a lot of time in Europe, and that kind of is, I usually spend 2 to 3 months in Europe a year, usually from like November to like February. And I'm actually going there to possibly buy a condo in Spain. I love Spain. It's fantastic. It's been a goal of mine. And
buying a villa in Italy is on my list.
Yeah. We could just be neighbors. There we go.
I love that.
We could just do like a little like a house swap whenever you want to do that. So let me know. Maybe we could get like a little realtor list of Airbnbs, and we can just do like a little housing, 1 week at each place, but kind of just having that work-life balance where I'm still able to work, business is still being able to run, and I can just work, from afar and be able to enjoy my life, because having a heart attack at 29 is definitely an eye-opener.
I can imagine.
Yeah. And I'm a pretty healthy person, so it's not like it's just like, it's
really
X,
forces
Y,
you
and
to have
Z.
some perspective, huh?
100%. And I don't want, and I think that as a newer agent, you can work really hard, but have to have a little bit of time for yourself. Don't make it all about your business, and don't just keep trying to focus on that, because you're going to burn out. You're going to hit a brick wall, and that's not good for anyone. And you're not going to want to answer your phone. You're not going to want to do an open house. You're not going to want to do money making activities. You're going to be hitting a brick wall, and then you're going to be wasting time, and you're going to get depressed. You're going to get sad, and because you're not doing anything. So you need to just continue, making sure that you have a schedule. You schedule you time just as much as you schedule prospecting or showing clients houses. You have to come first, because without you, you don't have a business.
Great stuff. I mean, we all know that there's almost like a culture within real estate of like burning the midnight oil, right? like just working your tail off from morning, noon, and night. And always being available to answer the phone no matter what. I've even heard agents say, well, if you don't answer your phone, you shouldn't be an agent, And I'm like, okay, I get it. But I also understand that there's it's a business, and every wildly successful business owner that I know has boundaries, and they stick to those boundaries. And especially if they have a family, of their own. And it's just, if you don't do that, in my opinion, you're basically telling your family that they're not as important as your job. Right? Or as your business. And when I have dinner with my 5 kids and my beautiful wife, I want to be able to know that I'm not going to be distracted in that time. And there's nothing that's really more important than that connection, right? And that relationship. So I think what you just said has a lot of wisdom to it. And it's not easy for everybody to do that, especially when they're not hitting their goals yet. They don't feel financially stable yet. It's just easy to hustle, and there's a time for that. But the word you used was happy. I usually use the word fulfilled. Yeah, it's like, that's really what this whole thing's about, like the business. When one day I'll ask you a little bit in a few minutes, like the idea of what type of legacy you'd want. But at the end of the day, fulfillment is what it's really all about, right? And building that business accordingly. When you think about your business today, maybe it's the balance you just described, but what do you think is the most rewarding part of your business currently constituted?
I really enjoy kind of problem solving for people. And I still, to this day, I remember her name is Barbara. I talk to her all the time. Her birthday just passed, and she got my number from someone, and it was a referral, and she's been through 3 realtors that couldn't help her. And
challenge.
This lady, she worked at the VA hospital as like a nurse's aide, and she worked two jobs for several years. She put all 3 of her kids, bought them all cars, and paid for their school, so they were able to graduate with no debt. And this lady, she must have been probably around 60, and she was buying her first home. She was tired of renting. She's rented for 60 years. She said, I went through 3 agents. They weren't able to help me get a house. And I said, well, okay, well, let me connect you to my lender. We have this X, Y, and Z program, blah, blah, blah. And her and I just have like this amazing connection together. And she has been like, I always send her flowers for her birthday. I always make sure that I drop off something for Christmas or whatever. And she was one of my first sales, one of my first sales. And I have been able to kind of touch people's lives in different ways, but I really, really get engaged with my clients. And there's like a very Like my clients become friends and my friends become clients. And that's just how I kind of naturally run my business. And now I'm at the point, being in real estate for 5 years, 6 years, where I'm getting repeat clients because believe it or not, I have 3 clients right now, okay, that I sold their first homes to. They're all having twin boys. 3 sets of clients.
It's in the water, huh?
Yeah, it's water that I don't want to be drinking. But there are 3 sets of clients that are all having twin boys right now. And I'm like, you guys just need to get together and do a clothing swap or something like that. Like, I don't know. Share, like maybe like alternate of who gets to babysit. I don't know.
Do your clients know each other in terms of like, I know some agents do a lot of client appreciation parties and that type of thing. Yeah, that's part of your organization.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I do 2 big client appreciation events, every year. And then I do quarterly events. So I usually take 10 to 15 clients out for like dinner or drinks or Topgolf, whatever. And I prefer like more of the intimate setting where I'm able to talk to them.
Yep.
But then I'm able to have like, a bigger event, twice a year where I get to kind of see everyone and people can bring their kids and do that kind of thing. So
that's awesome.
I love that. That's really where I spend my marketing dollars, I guess you would say. It's more in like, so all my clients for their birthdays, they get a flower delivery. I partnered with Moat's Florist in Seminole Heights. And so I give her my roster of all my clients' birthdays and their home anniversaries. She just automatically goes, charges my credit card and delivers flowers. So I never miss a beat. And then, if there's Father's Day, Mother's Day, we delivered flowers to all of our favorite moms that are in the area. I do mailers, to each client every single month. And that's then awesome. I do mail buys. So
you mentioned earlier too, and it's hard to cut you off there, but you got me thinking about automation because you mentioned that before we hopped on, that's become a big part of your business lately is how to automate your systems. Yep. And I think a lot of people hear these types of ideas, which I think are phenomenal ideas, and they want to implement them. And then the first thought process is, how do I find the time, to be able to do those things? I can't be planning birthday things and gifts and flowers and all this stuff. I'm trying to just get deals. I'm hustling.
Yep.
And they know they're missing something. Yeah. Because it's huge to be able to build that relationship. But I think you seem like you've been able to figure out platforms and automated ways to make those things happen while still having a balanced lifestyle. So if you can elaborate a little bit on some of the automation, how has that panned out?
So let's reflect back to the original, like a question you asked a little while ago about what are some challenges you had. That was part of my challenge.
Yes.
It's everyone's like, what CRM should I use? Anything that you're going to use,
right?
It doesn't matter. You can invest in the best platform. Are you going to use it?
Right.
I know some really top producing agents who just use a spreadsheet.
Yep.
Like just an Excel spreadsheet. Yep. I just use Follow Up Boss, nothing crazy, but I organize everything and it's kind of like a set it and forget it. And that's the only way that you're going to be a successful agent. Yep. Your job is to go out working with clients, getting clients and providing quality service. So, what I took little chunks here and there from other agents of what they're doing and kind of what my business coach has recommended. And I created automated systems. So everything is just automated. I set everything up, it takes a little while to get set up, but every single month, my clients get a mailer, they get a magazine. They know that they're going to I have all my flower deliveries for their birthday. Instead of pop buys, I do mail buys. So people
forget about the power of the personal mail piece.
Yes.
Because it's not, people think that's dead, but it's actually the opposite. It's so much more powerful, I think, now. When somebody sees something personally handwritten or something like that. It's huge.
Still do handwritten notes, 100%. So there's a whole combination of stuff. And it's just like set it and forget it. You wake up every day, your CRM pops up, tells you what to do, you knock it out, you move on. And
you use Follow Up Boss for setting all that up.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Same with my mailer, my digital mailer. And then I'm really big on social media. So my clients, I create a private Facebook group for my clients. It's called my brand is Not Your Boring Agent. And so it's Not Your Boring client Facebook page is kind of what it's called. And it's so everyone that is a past client of mine, I go in there, I do, fun raffles for things like back to school. I'll do like, or now summer's kicking off. We're doing a 1 month of summer camp kind of thing. So it's just like fun, like stuff like that people just don't like really pay attention or think about, that's kind of out of the box. And instead of, going to find people that you don't know, like the one client I had to fire, it's focusing on people you do know. And, they're going to, if good people will give you good people.
Absolutely.
And I think that's really the key to kind of building your business the right way. And sometimes, sweat equity is a little bit more, you need more patience for sweat equity than check equity. Check equity is easy,
It is.
It's the easy way out. It has worked for people, but
And that's what money is for, though, really.
Yeah.
To leverage, right? As long as if you have the financial resources to put in, then that's supposed to be able to buy your time back. I just finished a great book called Buy Back Your Time.
Yeah.
And it's really about leveraging staffing, VAs, systems, automation to, as a business owner, to be able to have that time that is really the most precious asset all of us have is not money, it's time.
Yep. Yeah. And you have to find the balance for whatever works for you and your business when it comes to that stuff. It's not one size fits all. Right. Everyone has a different personality, everyone has a different skill set, and everyone has a different background. And that's why you can't compare yourself to other people, because like when I first got started, what are you doing? What are you doing? And so I was just kind of running, like chasing my tail, because I was trying to get something to work and it wasn't fitting me. Yeah. And so it was a lot of trial and error getting started. And then once I figured out what was working for me and my personality and my business, then I knew, okay, this is what I need to go with.
Yeah.
So
that's also where a coach can come in to help you clarify that, because I think that's a big thing when people are new, is having the shiny penny syndrome and always hopping around to different things, but never getting good at any one thing.
Yep.
And being able to focus, which is something that's hard for people to do nowadays, is this focus component. But most successful agents that I've interviewed have something that they eventually focused in on that got them over the hump and got them results. And some people unfortunately never do, and then they find themselves out of the business years down the road. We're going to go through a couple rapid fire personal things just to let people get to know you a little bit more. And then we'll put a bow on our episode. But do you have a favorite book or author or even a seminar that you've attended that you feel like has made a huge impact on you personally or professionally?
Yeah. So I love Chris Voss, Never Split the Difference.
Great book.
I saw him speak in person, which I'm really grateful for. I flew to Las Vegas to see him speak, and it's really good negotiation kind of guideline. What we do is we just don't sell a house, but sometimes we have to have these difficult conversations of negotiations and repairs and that kind of thing. And it says never split the difference. Mm-hmm. And also too, when you go on a listing presentation, someone's always going to try to get you down on your 6%. Mm-hmm. So it's just making sure that you stand by the value that you have and that you provide your clients with. And
FBI hostage negotiator, right?
Yeah. And it's also come in handy in my personal life.
With all those hostages that you hold down?
Yes. Or they're holding me hostage.
It's a great book. I've read it as well.
So I would highly recommend that to read, and that really has impacted my business.
Do you have a favorite movie?
Favorite movie? My ADHD doesn't really allow me to sit and watch a movie, to be honest.
Or TV show or anything like that?
TV show, yeah. I absolutely, I'm not like a big binge watch person, but I did have COVID, and Schitt's Creek was on, and I absolutely just love Schitt's Creek. It's it's such a funny show. It's like our modern day Friends, I guess, is what I would compare about it.
I've actually never seen it, but
it's fun. It's a good show. Yeah.
Favorite food?
Well, currently I'm on a diet. I'm down 7 pounds. I'm down 7 pounds. But typically, I absolutely love Olivia. Carbs are just my go-to. Mm-hmm. That and a good fried chicken.
Oh, look at that.
I know. Fried chicken is my thing. You will see me going through Chick-fil-A and PDQ. And I'm a sauce person.
I have to say, my kids are big Chick-fil-A fans. So
I'm that person that's in the front of the drive-through with 20 different sauces around, because realtors are always in our cars, so I'm always eating in my car, and I have to dip every different bite in different sauce. But those are my two things.
Do you have a favorite hobby Sports fan. You mentioned love to travel.
Yeah.
Anything come to mind there as far as favorite hobby?
Yeah, so I love to travel. It's one of my favorite things to do. I love exploring new things, meeting different people, different cultures, experiencing different foods. I've taken a lot of time recently just kind of traveling and kind of checking off my bucket list. Like, I don't want to wait till, I'm not healthy enough to be able to do these things, and I want to do them now. And there's no reason why I can't make time and readjust my budget and my schedule to make it happen. So travel is one of my new favorite hobbies, but also too, I live in downtown, so it's kind of cool. I bought like a package of hockey tickets and have been really following the Lightning, and I'm
Nice.
like, I'm really getting into hockey now. So I was just in
Fell
Canada.
a little short this year, huh?
Just a little bit. It was I was there.
They've had a nice run for the last 5 years. You can't complain.
Oh yeah. I was, it was funny because I was in Montreal and they had the last game and they were up against Toronto Maple Leafs. And I was like the only like Lightning fan in the bar in Canada that I was in. So I was like, I'm going to be a little careful
in Canada.
Oh yeah. So I just kind of kept a little quiet there when we lost, but
it's a fun experience though. I've been to a couple Lightning games and Bucks games and Rays games, but there's a pretty rabid fan base of the Lightning here in Tampa Bay, which, we're in Florida. You wouldn't think hockey would be such a big thing, but it is, it's become a real cultural team that has a rabid fan base around here.
Yeah,
for sure.
We have such a great stadium, an arena, and everything is just super nice, walkable. There's a lot of stuff to do, in Water Street now. So I'm happy that they invested in having some good players.
Yeah, for sure.
Daddy Vinnick is stepping up his game.
And then we had Brady here for the football side. So bringing all this people from the Northeast and everywhere else that see Tampa as a successful place, not just because of all the beautiful real estate and the water, but the sports teams. It all adds to the environment around here in the community. One of the things I mentioned a couple minutes ago, and I always like to kind of end with this question, I think it gets people to think, is about our legacies, right? So at some point, maybe you'll be done with real estate, whenever that might be. Yeah. What do you think would be important to you, Steven, that you would want to be remembered for or remembered as when you think about what you'd want your legacy to be?
So I have been working on a project that is kind of like a soul searching project for me. I created a Kind Eye Senior Living, and I am now buying up some investment properties. So I'm actually going later on today with one of my friends who has a portfolio of homes. And I'm creating a business based off of in-home healthcare and assisted living homes. So it's combining my love for real estate. And in the beginning, as you know, I was in school to be a physician's assistant and always wanted to get in the medical field, but creating something, there's a big need of affordable senior care. Yep. And I know
some investors that focus in that space and do really well.
Yeah. I would love to connect with them. So let me know. I'm new to this. So there's a lot of legal stuff. I have spent a year going back and forth with my elder law attorney to try to make this happen. But
are you trying to develop new ones or take over ones that are mismanaged right now? New ones?
New ones. Yeah. I'm trying to start my own. I have a client who is a doctor at the VA hospital, and he has, asked me to help find these people some rental properties and stuff. And it's really hard that people are on such a fixed income and we have such high inflation right now. And it's really hard, because a lot of people during the economy crash, they lost a big chunk of money. My parents included, that they're recovering from it still today. So that has affected a lot of that baby boomer generation, where it's affecting now that they're getting into their 60s and retirement age, to find something that's affordable. And I hope to really fulfill that space for, assisted living and, some type of affordable housing option. So I'm working on that right now. That is going to be my legacy, I hope. And not only is it a passion project of mine that I'm really passionate about, it's also something that I think is really needed, that I hope continues to compound and grow and continue giving back to people, and, helping their families. It's a lot of stress on the families too. And I think that it's really, really needed right now.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. I think it lets people know a little bit more about what makes you tick. So that's cool to hear. If somebody wanted to reach out to you and connect with you, what's the best way to do it? Social media, phone, your Facebook groups. How does someone reach you?
I have it all. The easiest would probably be everyone's on Instagram. So Instagram is the Steven Burk, the Steven Steven Burk. My other Instagram is Not Your Boring Agent.
That's a great brand, by the way.
Thank you. For people that when I first was getting started in business, everyone's like, "Oh, like you need some type of like thing," and so I was asking around like a couple of my friends and stuff, and I'm like, I'm just a little bit outside the box kind of person. That's just the way I am.
Definitely not boring.
So I was like, there's never a dull moment in my life. Anyone who knows, like I always post like my like craziness finds me. I don't know what it is. But I always find these like comical moments. And I kind of was just like, oh my gosh, that's it. Like Not Your Boring Agent. So my website's notyourboringagent.com.
I think the first time I saw you, you had those glitter shoes on. And I was like, this dude is not boring. I can tell you that right now.
Yep. That was the panel.
They were like all spiked up, or it was either panel or might have been the first banquet, but it was one of the two. But I know you were, the shoes stood out to me. I can tell you that right now. Before I even knew you as a person and your personality.
Well, thank you. Yeah. So I always try to be a little bit memorable and creative in a positive way, not a little crazy way, but we're all a little bit crazy in our own ways.
Well, it was great to have you here today, Steven, and dive into your story a little bit. We're going to end the episode like we do with all of our episodes, which is, what is one specific action step that you can take from something maybe that you got from our conversation today with Steven? Maybe it's about getting a coach if you're somebody who's trying to still grow your business and you know that that's a step, or maybe you take some of his early things and focus on open houses or one of these other steps, or find a cool brand like it's not, I'm Not Your Boring Agent, whatever it might be. But take one action step. That way, the time you would have invested in listening to this episode is gonna play a role in your success moving forward. And we're really all about creating productive agents here and making sure that the time you invest is worth it. So thank you for sharing your story, and I'm sure we'll have you on another one down the road and see you at some of our events in the future. So
100%.
You guys stay classy. We'll see you at the next one.
Thank you so much.